I know I'm sweating like a whore in church. It's actually pretty hot here. Seasons are all whacked out. So, anyways, you may have noticed the title of today's episode or stream, uh, posting social media while on active duty wearing your uniform. You know, here's the thing that people should understand, especially when you sign a contract to be in the military. Your rights are completely different, totally different justice system, everything. Freedom of speech? No. Freedom of speech does not exist. Not while you're in the military, because they don't want people saying or doing things that will make whatever branch they're serving in look bad. And this seems to be a real big issue here in the United States with all these people uh, putting TikToks up, things along that line. What I can't figure out for the life of me, though, is if you're going to badmouth your whatever NCO or one of these officers or anything along that line on social media and it gets back, you can see what's going to happen: disciplinary action of some sort. I mean, it's the military. You're on a regiment. I mean, it's just like discipline, everything like that. Making political comments and videos and whatnot has severe consequence. Regardless, positive or not, you shouldn't be doing it in uniform, because while you're wearing that uniform, you're representing that branch. On top of it, if I recall, on contracts, you do not wear your utilities anywhere when you're not in the field or off base, unless it's in transportation to and from. I see guys in their camis all the time posting TikToks, all sorts of shit like that. And quite frankly, why would you want to wear your uniform while you're posting? I mean, it just blows my mind. But as far as that goes, for instance, there was the Charlie Kirk assassination shooting or whatnot that took place in Utah. You've got all sorts of sick people out there joking and laughing and talking bad and hallelujahs, and just pretty awful. I think that's a terrible ordeal. Is a stain, you know, on our country when people do things like that, regardless if you like him or not. Uh, Assassinations like that, we can't tolerate political violence in our country. I mean, it needs to remain a safe place where people need to know that it's safe for them to discuss, disagree, and argue. However, some of these idiots who were posting these things bad about Charlie Kirk, and see, I don't even like Charlie Kirk, guys. Just so you know, I'm not a huge fan, but the guy should not have been killed. He does have some points and things I do agree with, and he's got stuff I don't agree with. I really don't know a whole lot about him, but I do know is his two daughters don't have a father anymore, and I think that's awful. Um, I thought it took a lot of guts for a guy to go around campus to campus and debate with people and argue, regardless if you like him or not. But I mean, and that's kind of how the American ways are. We should be able to do things like that and be safe while doing so. Unfortunately, we're human beings, and we are, probably the dumbest species on the planet when it comes to violence and things all along that line. But as far as it goes, when you've got people in uniform complaining about it, and might I add, it's how do you put it here? Nepotism tends to be a thing when it comes to government, whether it be lobbyists, bureaucrat, senators, governors, whatever, military even. Nepotism is a huge thing. So if the person who's over the Department of Defense happens to be friends with a guy who was just shot in Utah, and you're in the Department of Defense, is whatever branch you're serving in this case, this dude was in the Navy or whatever, over there talking about how you're glad and applauding and all this type of stuff, it's like, are you stupid? I mean, it's a great way to get a discharge, I'll tell you that, but clearly you didn't care about your contract or your career with the military in the first place if you were dumb enough to be posting shit like that online. And quite frankly, I think it misrepresents all the other sailors that were in the Navy wearing those uniforms. It's bullshit. Um, Keep the politics out of the military, period. When you're on active duty, you swear when you're sworn in, when you enlist, protect from enemies, domestic and global. And it's just like foreign and domestic. Sorry, I don't know if I said global, but that goes for people assassinating people and shooting people. That goes for any type of violence towards Americans, period. Um, and so for somebody to be applauding over that, it's a pretty despicable thing to do. That's awful. So that's my thoughts on that matter. And quite frankly, I think the military needs to just hammer down on this shit and just boot people. Hey, if you're gonna post this stuff, gone. I don't care when they're not on active duty. I don't care. They can post opinions as long as they're not in their uniform or involving the military in any way whatsoever. And they can put their little disclaimers on that all they want. These views are not, you know, are not the views of the United States Navy or the United States Marine Corps or whatever. It doesn't matter. You're wearing the uniform, you're representing, and you do have your First Amendment rights. But here's the thing: in the military, sure, you can say what you want, but you're going to deal with the consequences of your actions. And if it's involving anything bad mouthing, chain of command, or just any despicable thing, you're have fun dealing with that one. I think we've seen it time and time again on the internet, people and podcasters, TikTok, and all that shit. All these people making these statements and getting shit canned. Jameson Travels, hell, he can make, he finds all sorts of clips of idiots, in uniform saying dumb shit. It's like regular citizens look up to veterans. They look up to people who are on active duty as heroes because, they're serving the country and keeping them safe. Do you want to earn like getting the distrust of our own people because our military is going to talk shit on them? I mean, it's a higher standard, and it's lead by example. There's accountability. I mean, all these types of things. If you know what you signed up for when you joined and enlisted. If you were a person who enlisted just because you wanted to get an education, or you wanted to get out of a crappy lifestyle you were living or whatnot, well, finish up your contract and then go to your social media stuff or whatnot, but don't create this smudge over the military. It's 250th anniversary coming up for the Marine Corps in November. 250 years of tradition. It's a big deal. It really is. I don't know. And I just never thought in my wildest mind you would ever see people online conducting themselves the way they do. Now, there are always a bunch of assholes who are in the military that do give a lot of bad reputation that follows. You've got the stolen valor people, same thing, that follows and creates distrust. Unfortunately, though, this is an epidemic that's very difficult to combat with. So, there's that. Project-wise, development group, I'm just about done with that video. I've got a couple more things. There's one or two pieces of information I'm waiting for verification on because I don't want to put wrong info out there for you guys. But, back to the shooting incident with Charlie Kirk, a lot of you guys, I had posted earlier, I grew up not too far from Utah Valley University. My cousins have gone to school there. I've been there multiple times. My high school graduating class was so big, we had to actually go to their basketball arena to do it. That whole area, with that being the case, and them saying that it was like a Mauser, I don't know, Mauser 98, something like that, 30-06 is what they were saying. I don't know if that's disinformation to weed out all the people lying about stuff, but that's a very, very long rifle. Carrying that around to and from would be pretty hard to be conspicuous or whatnot. And then on top of that, after the shooting occurred, carrying that out, going and ditching it in the woods. I mean, you have Mount Timpanogos and you have, some of the Uintas if you were to go east, but the university itself's on University Parkway right off I-15. So, there's other options to drive. But somebody would have seen a guy walking around with a big ass Mauser rifle. And that's kind of like, okay, is this just disinformation they're putting out because they don't want suspects to run? They say that this kid who's 22 is the person in charge and responsible and had turned himself in. I don't know. Who knows what'll happen? It all just doesn't really add up a whole lot. However, whatever the case may be, hopefully there is justice. That this type of shit can't be happening in our country, and we shouldn't tolerate it. But, those are my thoughts on that matter. And the country's just gotten crazy. People are doing all sorts of stuff and causing harm to other people and stalking and shit like that. My wife, hell, she's at the point now where she's carrying, 40 caliber with her. I mean, it's just because of all the weirdos out now doing all sorts of crazy shit. Hopefully, she never has to use it, but I mean, it's to that point. And my wife, she likes guns, doesn't mind them. Um, she's not like into them like I am, but for her to feel that way or whatnot, it's kind of surprising. Um, but that's the days we're living in, and of course, my kids, I've trained them all how to shoot firearms and safety and stuff like that, which I would have done that regardless. A lot of people tend to think that the only reason anybody has guns is because they're scared or whatnot. I mean, it's to protect us from tyranny of the government. That's what the Second Amendment's all about. Um, so there's that. But at the same time, there's a lot of fun stuff to do in precision sports. Like my father-in-law, for instance, he was huge into competition shooting and stuff like that. He was ranked grandmaster. Hella good shot from everything my wife was telling me. I mean, he's in his 70s now, and those days are done. But it's fun to go do shooting sports. Some of these guys, like with their big ass precision rifles and doing the distance shootings and things along that line, it's fun as hell to watch. I mean, it's really talent. I mean, these guys are great, and they're all so much better than myself. So I'm not even going to put myself in classification with these guys. I'm just a grunt. But like, there's fun stuff with that. Some people do like to hunt. I only hunt if I'm up for, I don't know, I don't hunt as much as I used to. Um, but if you like elk, venison, things along that line, okay, for that, there you go. And then as far as home defense or protection or whatnot, you have it there. I mean, there's so many other purposes, and now guns are designed to kill, and everybody knows that. It's a tool. You can use it how you want. However, you're going to be accountable for whatever actions you use with it. And it's like you guys have heard me say on older podcasts, whatever bullet or whatever comes out of that gun when you squeeze the trigger, you can't ever take it back, whether it be shooting a target or shooting a person. It's done. You're accountable where that round went. And I think I really stressed that a lot when that whole Alec Baldwin Rust shooting case, took place. I mean, it doesn't matter if there was a bullet in the gun or there wasn't a bullet in the gun or whatnot. Him knowing or not, he held the gun up. He flagged somebody, cross draw, finger, negligent discharge, killed the one lady, injured the other dude, and all this stuff. And that's the fact here. Now everybody thinks, well, he didn't do it because he was found. The charges were dismissed. No, they're all well aware he's the person that pulled the trigger and holding the gun when it went off. His trial in court was for the mere reason, should he be prosecuted for it? And of course, the attorney, what's her name, Christie, whatever, whom I actually liked, screwed up with the chain of evidence and didn't provide that discovery to Baldwin's team, and those charges got dismissed prejudice, and so they can't bring those charges up against him ever again. His lawyers did a great job regardless. That's how the system works. Unfortunately, there's loopholes and all sorts of junk going on there. But I mean, that's something to teach your kids. As far as panicky goes and World War III goes, I mean, I'm not a prepper per se, and a lot of people on here are. I mean, I have food storage and things along that line, and emergency medical supplies, and whatever the case may be. But I've always had that stuff because that's just a habit you develop when you've you know gone through all that training and lived that way for years and years. Hey, Sonny, thanks for dropping in, man. Soon hope to see you there. Baldwin was cold, in my opinion, no remorse. Oh, and he really was, Sonny. I mean, he truly was, because it was the interview he did with that Mark. I can never say his last name correctly, but oh, my finger wasn't on the trigger. I never pulled the trigger. FBI forensics said that gun would only go off after that guy beat the shit out of it with a rubber mallet. And it's a Colt single action Army. It's a 45 long Colt. It's an all metal gun. Those things are durable as hell. And that was the hot pistol to have in the 1800s. I mean, if you watch the video clip of him just practicing doing a cross draw off his bandolier, his fingers on that trigger the entire time while he's pulling it out. In fact, what really surprises me is Baldwin not shooting himself as he's pulling out. But, unfortunately, it was the other two people and that one lady. It's a sad situation. But I mean, like, if I was Alec Baldwin, I don't know. there's a difference between shooting assholes and shooting somebody innocent. I mean, and like, I don't know how he could live with that. And it's not even so much the fact of the shooting of her part, the fact that he wouldn't take the responsibility or anything along that line, or hold himself accountable for his own action. And I think there's way too much of that shit going on these days. And I don't know. It's just, it falls back to, like I was saying earlier, you know, we have our First Amendment, which is great. You know, it's a great thing we have. But it gets abused. And if you're in the military, sure, you can have your freedom of speech, but you're going to have consequences for your action. And quite frankly, you should know better by that point. Because like I said, military, we're all held up to a higher standard than regular people. I mean, the justice system's totally different. It's more so you're guilty until proven innocent. And you look at guys like Eddie Gallagher, or, you know, the guys from, hey, if you fuck up, you own. Exactly, man. And that's exactly how it should be. And, you know, you look at the guys from Blackwater and all that, they got thrown in there. And, you know, even though they were contractors, they weren't on active duty at the time. But I don't know. I just look at it and you see people who own it. You see people who deal with it. And even when you make mistakes, people in the United States, one thing I've noticed, you know, somebody that owns it, you're more likely to be liked, and you're going to have people that you have people out there that are going to have a lot more respect for you for owning up to your mistakes. This is something I try to teach my kids all the time. I'm not saying I'm the great parent giving advice, but it's just something I try to get into their minds. I say, you know, I know somebody drank 5 sodas out of the refrigerator, and then I always say this one to them: I already know who did it. I said, you're not going to get in trouble if you step forward and admit to it, though, or as much trouble. But, you know, when you double down and try to lie on it and everything like that, that's usually what pisses me off more. But, you know, of course, that's also not shooting people. That's taking Pepsis out of the fridge. But, like, still, Alec Baldwin, I mean, I don't know. That blaming other people is just such a bitch move. Just a bitch move. You know, it blows my mind, but that's just reflects on the type of people they are, I guess. I'm curious. I mean, as far as accountability goes, it's really not that common anymore. Or at least people don't think that they should be. It's something as simple as if they're doing colors in the military and you got officers going by and you're in uniform and you're supposed to salute and you don't. You know, that's another infraction. I mean, it's just, I don't know. Military justice, regular civilian justice, completely different ball game. I could talk about it for hours, but I also got shit to do today, guys. So, you know, I'll leave it at that one. But I will be live again tomorrow. You guys all have a good Saturday. Enjoy.
Absolutely.